Yeah, we're talking about Disney today.
I'm a Disney theme park pass holder.
And I am a shareholder. And I'll tell you, Dan, when I joined The Fool, we make a certain amount of money available to new employees. It's part of your onboarding where you get some money, and the goal is for you to start investing, to buy some shares so that you start understanding how the stock market works. You start following companies. And even if you're not in an investing role or in the editorial department, you start following businesses the way that a lot of our investing teams do. And when I made my first purchase with some of this money that I'd been given, I bought a lot of the no-brainer stocks because I was like, I'm new to this. I want to learn. And so it was Whole Foods, it was Apple, and it was the House of Mouse. It was Disney. And I think if there's anyone like me that has the same holding period, they're kind of like throwing their hands up like, what's going on with this company?
Well, Disney's been challenged by they have been spending a lot of money to get to where they are now. So if you look at the Pixar purchase, the Lucasfilm purchase, it's all about amassing a film schedule that they can build everything else off of. When you release movies, are you more likely to go see the new Star Wars or Space Adventure Part 1 with it's a great preview, but you don't know the Space Adventure characters so well.
You take the known entity.
So that's what Disney has been doing. They have been building up intellectual property, but when you look at that, you can't make a new Star Wars film in 3 months. You can't build a Star Wars land at Disney World and Disneyland in 3 months or a year or 3 years. So there's been a long-term investment in getting Disney to the point where their movie business, which while it's only a relative fraction of their revenue at about $7 billion this year, that is the driver for everything else. You take something like Marvel. How many movies, television shows, theme park rides, a little limited on the theme parks in the US because of the Universal deal where they don't have the rights to some of their own characters, pajamas, comic books, video games, ice cream bars, pretty much. There is nothing that Disney can't license once it has the right intellectual property in place.
Yeah, we talk about the Disney magic so often. I think the true Disney magic is its IP if you're looking at it from an investing perspective.
Yeah, so you asked, why has it been so slow? Why has the stock sort of languished in this range? Some of it is when you are as successful as Disney, small failures resonate. So one of the ones we talked about earlier today was Solo. Solo was a $392 to be fair, million dollar box office bomb. That's not, by the standard of bombs, very bomby.
There are a lot of studios that would kill for that to be a bomb.
It will probably actually break even or come, no movie, you know movie accounting. They always, try to make it not break even to not have to pay actors more. But that film didn't lose a lot of money. That's what a Disney bomb looks like now. ESPN, oh my God, ESPN's in free fall. They lost 1 million subscribers in 3 years, whatever the number is. Relatively, ESPN is still the cable channel you pay the most for. It's still in 90-something million homes or 88 or whatever the exact number is. Every little misstep with Disney is a big deal because it wasn't Space Rogue, the movie. It was Solo. And we know who Han Solo is. My mother, my grandmother, who is deceased, my great-grandmother, who is very deceased, all knew who Han Solo was.
We've had a very morbid take so far between the mice and your family tree, Dan.
It's not a tragedy that my died at 99-year-old great-grandmother.
Absolutely right.
But she knew who Han Solo was.
Right.
So when that movie doesn't do well, it really resonates. When the latest Pirates of the Caribbean wasn't reviewed that well, and while globally it did okay, it was kind of a middling sort of US thing, that feels like a much bigger failure than when like Comcast releases something under Universal that was a $200 million guess, like, their Tom Cruise remake of The Mummy. That's a much bigger failure than Solo. It just doesn't have the name recognition.
So between some of these misses, well, quote unquote misses, and what's been going on with cord cutting, we have seen this stock kind of hang out in no man's land for a while. You look over the last couple of years, they've hung out between $90 and $120 a share. Depending on your cost basis, you're up maybe 20% and trailing the market, or even down perhaps on Disney shares.
And it's the difference between the leeway investors are going to give sort of a tech startup. It doesn't matter if Netflix spends 3 times more on content than what it's taking in. The ratio isn't that, but let's pretend it was. When Disney does the same because it's a mature company, Nobody says, hey, Disney is positioning itself so no matter where cord cutting bottoms out and streaming, they will have every answer. But if you look at Disney Plus, if you look at their stake in Hulu, if you look at their owned networks and content, when we know what the cable landscape is, and we both cover this, and we don't know if cord cutting bottoms out at 50 million homes or 75 million. We really don't know. Disney will be able to have the right property to sell you what you want in a way that, especially if you have kids, you have no choice but to buy it. You can't not have the channel that has Frozen if you have, or Cars if you have 8-year-olds or 6-year-olds. Or
yeah, the IP library is simply too valuable for Disney, and it's too much of a must-have for them. I think also kind of looking back at why this company has struggled a bit over the last couple of years, because they have this robust ecosystem where they put out the movie, they sell the merchandise, they create the ride. Any misstep at any point, especially when you're talking about the studio side of the business, is going to create trickle-down problems for the company.